Christopher, well done. Nice to have you with us. And let's talk to our good buddy Phil Simms. Joined us all throughout the fall to rousing ovation and rousing reviews. Let's get some thoughts on these QBs. Philip, nice to talk. How are you today, pal? Okay?
Chris, I'm doing well. I turned the TV on today, and who's this handsome guy on the, MLB? And it's Chris Russo. Man, your hair is coiffed. You're getting it going, I'll tell you.
I love you,
man.
Phil. You're my pal. All right, now, I did not see the CBS Sportsnet show. I wish I did, but from what I've been told and gathered, you love all these quarterbacks. Is that correct?
Love? No, I think that I don't know if I ever said that, but I said I like them all.
You do?
I think
Okay.
they're all worthy of being picked in the first round, especially in today's game. And I think that's what's important, to know that the position is changing a little bit. In other words, I never thought I would say a 6-foot quarterback, could be picked so high and think that he is the so-called franchise of a quarterback. It's just because we got much more diversity on the offensive side. We got more creative offensive coordinators who can overcome things like that. And just great case in point, we saw Case Keenum play tremendous last year in a system, threw it down the field, did all that because the offensive coordinator did a good job designing it and calling plays for his talent.
All right, do you like all four relatively equally, or do you think there's one or two that are heads and tails above the other two?
It depends on what you're looking for. I like all five. I like five.
And that's Lamar Jackson is the fifth.
Yes,
okay.
I absolutely do. Lamar Jackson, I've argued this and everything. And listen, his pro day and his combine, all that stuff, they weren't bad. They were terrible. They were really terrible. But when I watch all the games, he throws it differently. He's got a good arm. And you just can't take away the movement and what you can do in this league now, even with the more new rules coming about, that I just can't believe he won't go in the first round. But if I had to take one, and you said, here's your guy, I'm taking Josh Allen, I would not hesitate.
Wow. All right, now, why do you, despite the fact lower competition, and despite the fact, I know you make the big deal, who cares about a completion percentage, that's the big knock. Let me hear why you like Allen more than the other three. Let's go there first.
Size, mobility, tremendous arm strength, which is not the end all, but see, you can't quantify it with throws in the NFL. We all go by numbers, but he's going to make throws and they're going to design plays that other quarterbacks will not get designed for him, or they can't make. He can throw off balance. He can throw on the run. He can throw it sidearm. He can make all the awkward throws that really, to me, are an absolute must in the NFL right now. And so what's his downside, Chris? What came out, the tweets, that's a big deal.
Well, that's a big deal. Yes, it is.
It's a big deal to me, too. I know he was in high school, but you know what? I knew better in high school than to say something like that.
Good
or to
point.
tweet it.
That's a problem. I agree.
So that's interesting. But the downside is he's the guy that can hit the driver 350 yards, so he loves hitting driver. And so, he doesn't mind taking a chance and showing off his arm. And, the short completions and all that stuff they talk about, two things. He could straighten that out. If I saw him right now, I'd say just do this, and that'd be the end of it. It's really that easy. And the last thing is the completion percentage. I watched a lot of Wyoming football. I saw a lot of people dressed like they were in Alaska in the stands. I saw the wind blowing 30 miles an hour. I saw snowstorms. I saw rain. I saw it all. They were not a very good football team. Baker Mayfield threw 4 times as many screens as Josh Allen. 4 times. So that if you just give him some screens,
right, he's going to get that
over 60%. So that's why I judge all that stuff with a grain of salt. And really, Chris, I've told you this many times. That's why I don't look at their numbers that much. I look, but I don't buy into some of it because you got to see the offense. And he played in an offense that was not built for the quarterback to put up big numbers, but they overcame and they won games because he was their quarterback, no question.
All right, so we get the negative and the positives with him. Would you be concerned about two things with Donald? One, the turnovers, 43 and 27 starts. Two, the USC quarterback has not turned out to be great. Leinart, Sanchez, even to a certain degree, Palmer have underachieved in the NFL. Would that concern you as far as Donald is concerned with the turnovers? What's your take on that?
Oh, yeah, the turnovers concern me. It's how they are created. In other words, moves too much in the pocket when he doesn't have to, which can cause fumbles because you get hit when you're not expecting it. The fact that he never puts two hands on the football, they will correct that day one. And they will yell at his rear end, put two hands on the ball. And once you get used to it, you never take them off. I did it for like 14 years that way. And then, not 14, my first 12. Then Jim Fossil came around and said, why don't you put two hands on the ball when you do this and that? I said, I can't. But I did. And after a week, I never took them off again for the last 3 years of my career. So they can fix that, but it's the interceptions and it's how they're intercepted. In other words, he makes the right read, the guy is open, and almost always his interceptions were overthrows. So the big motion, trying to, over the top, all that stuff that people love, not the big motion, leads to some errant throws.
Right.
And I think his arm is athletic. He's quick in the pocket. He's got a great first step. He's not fast. I think he ran a 4.85 at the combine, which is, that's okay. But just not standing in the pocket and making as many throws as you would like a quarterback to make. And his arm is good, but it's definitely not in that high range of NFL quarterbacks.
Oh, wow, interesting. All right, how about Rosen with the concussions? And, he's a little cerebral. I mean, everybody says not great in the pocket. What do you see with him?
Oh, no, Chris, they're wrong. He's great in the pocket. He's awesome. Josh Rosen and Baker Mayfield both have the best feet when it comes to getting in position to throw the football. So in other words, they get their feet underneath them so they can really load up to throw the football. It's like turning into your back foot in golf. They do it better than all the quarterbacks by far. And, Rosen is very good in the pocket. It's almost a downfall. He's so good in the pocket that he doesn't move out of the pocket enough. He'll move a foot, and he's an excellent thrower under pressure. I would think he took more hits than any quarterback in college football. They were not very good at UCLA, but if you like to see the football on target, the right pace, hard, with great touch and all those things, then Josh Rosen is the man.
How about concussions? Concerned?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to look into it. I heard, I had a guy just randomly tell me that one of the concussions was not a concussion at all, and they were really upset about it, whatever. But I think the other thing is personality. I think when teams met him, and, again, this is just hearsay, but once they met him and talked to him, they go, wow, okay, this is pretty cool. All this stuff I heard, I'm not worried anymore. And there's going to be some teams, I'm not sure, that would have drafted him have definitely changed their mind. If he's there when they pick, they will take him.
All right, Mayfield. Then we'll get into a couple specifics. The great Phil Simms. Mayfield. Now I have two. Yeah. I got two issues. You help me out.
I know what you got. He didn't come through with Georgia.
He didn't
like the way he played the end of the game.
He didn't, Phil.
Okay.
I mean, listen. That's the biggest game he's ever played, and he did not respond. Plus, I'm a little worried about that conference with the quarterbacks. How about that? With the lack of defenses.
Oh, well, the conference's defense is
terrible. So anybody might.
That's not the word.
Oh, they're awful.
Okay. When you watch the draft, as I tell everybody, let's see how many defensive players get taken from the Pac-12.
Oh, nobody.
The Big 12.
Right, compared to the Big. Yeah, I understand. And that's
They're both terrible.
Terrible.
And Mayfield threw to some receivers. I'm not exaggerating. You could have thrown for touchdowns, and you could have dropped back and said. You could have helicoptered, and they were going to catch it. The system is good, but I don't take that away from him. That's not his fault. But I think he's got above-average arm strength for sure. He's a very quick first move out of the pocket. He has a great feel to move out of the pocket when it's appropriate. And I think he's a daring thrower, and he can throw it over the middle. I don't think height is going to be quite the problem we all think it is. It will be at times. There's going to be times when he can't get out of the pocket. They're going to surround him, and he's going to have a hard time maybe finding somebody. But he can change his arm angles, just like I said about Josh Allen. He can do all kinds of different throws. He can do it on the run. He can do it backpedaling. And, that, again, those things mean a lot to me. And I know this, too.
How about the Georgia second half, Bithell?
Well, yeah, it was – listen, I watched the game very closely. I thought he panicked in the pocket a couple times, which we never saw him because we didn't see him that often under pressure. But go look at the Ohio State game. Ohio State, there's nothing but pros on that football team. I mean, it's unbelievable when you watch. I gotta laugh, Chris. When you watch Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, you go to the list. When you watch them, you go, man, I can't believe this is not pro football. But Mayfield, just against Ohio State, he made tremendous plays.
Okay.
And so
that makes up for it then. That's
fair.
It
does. So I'm not going to judge a player on a half or a quarter. The whole body of work was good. And, of course, you do worry about him, the personality a little bit. It would bother me or worry me because he can just say things and act certain ways that just don't fly for today's NFL quarterback who are under a microscope. They all know it. So you got to just be a man and grow up and act the way they expect you to act.
All right, now, teams. Let's do Giants. I read your quotes this week, and I completely agree. I don't care if Unitas is sitting there.
If I said if Aaron Rodgers is available, they'd still pass on.
They really would. The Giants are not going to put themselves in a position where they're going to have Eli looking over his back and guys like me and you, well, me and you, guys like me screaming and yelling, let me look at the new kid. I'm 5-8. I'm going nowhere. They don't want to deal with that, so they are not going to draft a quarterback. You agree?
Oh, 100%. Let me give you a scenario, and you tell me what happens now. There's so many great things that can happen in this draft tonight, I can't even count them. Mayfield going number 1. I'm convinced you can get Mayfield at number 4 if you're the Cleveland Browns. So what do you want? Now, if the Cleveland Browns want Mayfield and Bradley Chubb, the rusher from Georgia, then they can get them at 1 and 4.
Well, you can get Barkley that way,
but
too.
If they want Barkley, they can take him 1, and they'll still get Mayfield at 4.
You think he'll get past the Jets at 3?
My feeling is, and, I don't know anybody and anything. I'm just reading and this and that and all that stuff. I think the Jets would, because the Jets are going to be faced with a big dilemma here maybe tonight. Sam Darnold is going to be there. And, I don't know where they got him rated or whatever, but the perception is by the country and the writers and radio people and everything that he's just the man. He can do no wrong. They don't talk about the turnovers. They don't talk about the fumbles, the missed throws. No, he can do no wrong as far as the people that push this, what they talk about. I mean, I watch all the TV shows, Chris. It's overwhelmingly. They trash Josh Allen, but Sam Darnold, whatever. That's just
so there's
me.
Some influence there. So you think the Jets, if the Mayfield goes 1, and the Giants then draft, I would assume Barkley. Then the Jets are going to have a decision to make, and you think the right call is Allen, but you think the Jets will be pressured into taking Darnold. Is that correct?
I think the pressure perceptually is so great. I just wonder, hey, look, if they got him rated there, then you take him. Okay? I would think this. Most of this offseason, you always plan for everything, right? You always do, these teams. I mean, my God, don't think that the meetings and all that stuff, they go forever. So, but I don't think they spent a lot of time probably until this last week or so going, Sam Darnold's not going to be the first pick of the draft. And, man, he could be there when we picked. And so now, where did you have him rated? Whatever. And now maybe you didn't have him rated as your number 1 quarterback, but your number 1 quarterback's there. But, man, Sam Darnold, you pass him up, then if he turns out to be something special,
you're going to look bad. You're going to look bad.
It's a tough spot. That's all I'm saying. And I mean that only really from the public relations take on it, which is incredible, but that always does play a part to a lot of general managers. It goes into their mind.
All right, so if you're the Browns, you take Allen. Then you would take Barkley to the Giants, and the Jets would take who if under that scenario?
Oh, well, then I guess I'm going to guess
Phil Simms do?
Sam Darnold would be my guess.
All right, and then 4,
Right,
we
but
still
I
got.
really thought, my first original thought, until, I get swayed by reading the papers too. And, I say, I'm not going to let nobody influence me. But I thought, hey, at 3, I thought it would be Mayfield or Josh Rosen.
Well, now if Mayfield goes 1, the Jets would get Darnold. Would that mean, and then Allen would slip? Would Elway take him at 5 after he signed Keenum to $36 million?
Boy, isn't it amazing? I mean, I listen. You got to move on sometimes. You just got to stick your foot in the ground and say we're going to live and die here, because the Broncos need lots of things, and man, could they help their team in so many ways? Could they trade out there if Buffalo or somebody just gave them an offer they couldn't refuse? Yeah, that's possible. But, man, Von Miller, how about Bradley Chubb being on the other side of him if he's there? Oh, how great would that be if that worked out? The Broncos, their offensive line, sooner or later, you got to get bigger and stronger in the NFL. And they're just not a big, strong team. So we're talking about Quentin Nelson being there, and they don't exaggerate when they talk about him, Chris. He's phenomenal.
He's that good, huh?
He's phenomenal.
Wow.
I mean, he's
are you
everything.
Are you talking about John Hanna good?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Hell, he just looks like the modern day version of John Hanna. He looks like an NFL running back who just got so big he had to put his hand on the ground. I mean, he's got high effort. He's flexible. He can run. He's mean as hell. Him and McGlinchey, the left tackle. I mean, it was like, you'd think they were brothers the way they played with each other out there. And, they played some top-flight competition, and I watched them in those games. And, I thought they were I'm not going to say great, but like when they played Georgia, I thought they did a lot of good things against a really good defensive line and some linebackers. So it wasn't just against Temple and other teams. And, when he had to play against the best, he was the best. And I think he is the surefirest thing that's going to be a success in this draft.
All right, last thing, Phil. That means the way you're going here, there's a couple quarterbacks who might drop. Maybe Allen, maybe Josh Rosen. Somebody's going to get lucky there in the middle of that first round, maybe not the middle, but around the third of that first round, top 10 pick, to nail a quarterback. What team will be lucky here to find Rosen, Josh Allen, something like that there for him when he selects? Miami at 11? Which team?
Let me just say this. I think Denver, the one guy they would take a quarterback, just again guessing, it would be Josh Allen. So if he falls to them, they might have a hard time saying no to that. And if they don't take him, then I believe they will be given an offer. And if it's high enough, because I think there's enough players, to where they can still get a special player, 10, 12, whatever. But I don't think the Buffalo Bills are just sitting there going, we have to go get a quarterback no matter what. I don't agree with that. I think they're sitting there going, we're going to get a really good player no matter what happens here. And if they do move up to get one, they're going to get it cheap, from what's going on here. So I look at that way. And then Rosen, man, I don't have – Chris, I can't even give you a guess. I'd have to look at the list again just to see where I think he could go. Chargers surely would take him if he was sitting there. There's a lot of teams that would take him that thinking – or move up, would the Arizona Cardinals move up? I just got this feeling, the Arizona. Did you read all the quotes by Bruce Arians? He likes Lamar Jackson. What's going on in Arizona, man? If they draft Lamar Jackson, that all of a sudden just turns the whole thought process about their organization around.
Yeah, I'm looking at Rosen. Dolphins have the 11th pick, need a quarterback. Could you see that?
I don't know if they would take Rosen. I would think the Dolphins really wanted Baker Mayfield. And if that's just the way I watch their offense, Adam Gase. If Baker Mayfield isn't the first pick of the draft and then it starts moving, it wouldn't shock me to see the Dolphins come up and make a huge move to get Baker Mayfield.
Great job.
So if we're getting bluffed by the Cleveland Browns or whatever, and he's still sitting there at 4 in Cleveland, the Dolphins might make him an offer they can't refuse. I don't know, or something, and come up there and get him if they had to.
Good job, Phil. Always a pleasure. We'll pop in here before the season starts. You do a great job. Thanks for the help today.
Big guy. Have a good day, Chris.
You too. Phil Simms, thoughts? What's going on? He likes the QBs. Josh Allen is his number one guy. We continue here on Mad Dog.